Hi there, my name is Bowser. I have been living in Turkey for the past 5 years and I'm currently in Istanbul, observing life here and trying to understand why so many students choose Istanbul. Is it the history, the location, the touristic attractions, economic advantages, or the facilities? What's so special about this city? And are these reasons good for international students? I have heard many comments from my friends in Istanbul. Some say they can't live anywhere else. Another one said, it's a nice city, but there are so many reasons to hate Istanbul. One said, if I had a choice, I wouldn't choose Istanbul. With these difference in opinions, I want to find out for myself what exactly are the pros and cons of living in Istanbul and studying in Istanbul, so that I can help you answer the question, should I study in Istanbul? If you're new here, my name is Bowser Zakaria. I make videos about opportunities for personal and professional development. So if you're a student or a young professional, you'd find my videos helpful, inshallah. To answer this question, there are 5 main headings I would like us to talk about. Studies, that is anything in school, at all, anything that has to do with studies. Extracurriculars, anything outside school, outside professional work. Work opportunities, that is strictly professional work. Number 4, cost of living, that is accommodation, bills and transportation. Number 5, community, the environment, the weather, the people. In all of these factors, I'll try to describe the pros and cons so that you have an idea of what it is like studying in Istanbul as an international student. I believe that these 5 headings will help us paint a clear picture of what a student life is like, because a university student is not meant to focus on taking courses alone. It is actually a period to empower oneself with the skills and resources necessary to achieve their dreams. To empower ourselves, we need to gain experience, and we can only gain experience when we engage in activities over a long period of time. So, the factors that would affect the ability to engage in activities are these 5 factors that I have listed above. So, let's look at them one after the other. Starting from studies, I'd like to mention 2 subtopics about studies. One is language of study, and this is very important. I would advise you to learn Turkish first. Yes, scholarship students already have to learn Turkish. Private students can choose to learn it or not. I advise that you learn it. The advantages are far more than the disadvantages. When you know Turkish, you would feel more relaxed living in Turkey. And Istanbul is not an exception, even though there are so many people from several countries and so many languages are spoken here. Now, the second point I would like to talk about is curriculum. Before choosing a department, many international students fail to look at the curriculum. Many international students, after coming to Turkey, complain that they don't like their department. And that's because they are not getting what they expect from the curriculum. BSc, Bachelor of Science, is different from BEng, Bachelor of Engineering. You need to check what you are going to be studying if they match your interest. For example, I wouldn't advise you to study political science at the undergraduate level because the curriculum is heavily focused on Turkish political studies. In a course like computer engineering, I would say it is a mix of computer engineering, software engineering, and computer science, but that also differs depending on the university. In some universities, the curriculum is heavily focused on the computing aspect. In some, it is heavily focused on the computer science aspect, which is mathematics, statistics. And for some, it's even very close to electrical engineering. So, from universities to universities, this changes, and I would like you to please take a look at the curriculum before you decide on applying or choosing that university. Number 2, extracurriculars. In this section, I would like to talk about anything you can do as a hobby or side gigs to make some extra money. Starting from sports, the Istanbul government has a website through which you can rent sports facilities. That's amazing. And there are so many options for football, basketball, volleyball that you can do with your friends. Now, let's go to student organizations. There are many active organizations in universities, but most of these activities are carried out in the spring semester because that is when the weather is conducive. You know, there are 2 terms, the winter term and the spring term. The winter term is practically boring. You know, everyone just tries to get back home early and sleep. It's very cold and nobody wants to stay outside for long hours. In summer, it's not like that. It's more active, everyone is outside and it's crowded. There are so many foundations and non-governmental organizations in Turkey. They have established foundations in every sector. In Istanbul, there are so many options to choose from, and you can meet people, gain experience, and participate in projects or competitions. Competitions, hackathons, theater plays, fashion, trading, social media content creation, and so on are very common in Istanbul. If you search for opportunities in any of these, you'd find them. To make some extra money, students do the following. They do translation jobs, that is from Turkish to any other language, or from Russian to English, or from Arabic to French, and so many others. They do international trade, that is import and export. They do teach English, either in one-on-one lessons, that is private lessons, or in a language teaching center. Some students work for media companies. Some students engage in social media creation. Some students plait and cut hair. If you are talented in this, I think you'd make a lot of money and you make a lot of friends. Some students work in factories. Some work as private nannies. But the challenge is that most of these jobs depend on your ability to speak Turkish, or they heavily depend on manpower. So if two people are applying for the same job, they would prefer the one who speaks Turkish over the other, because from my little experience here, I have seen that trust and understanding are very important to them. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, you may want to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Now, number 3, let us focus on work opportunities. Here I want to focus on internships and full-time job opportunities for students. There are many international companies in Istanbul. In fact, most of them are in Istanbul. To work for them, you need to have the necessary skills. So you need to be very talented, and you need to satisfy all the requirements. The competition is high, but it is possible. Istanbul is huge and diverse. It is crowded. Where there are crowds, there are opportunities. What that means, there is also chaos and crazy competition. So a student must know how to do their work properly to beat the competition. During your studies, try to get a long-term internship program. These are internship programs that are done during the school period, that is from the spring semester or from the winter semester. If you do long-term internship programs almost every year, or at least for 2 years, and you combine that with summer internship programs, before you graduate, you'd have almost 2 years of working experience, and that would set you apart. It would make things easier for you after graduation. Number 4, let us talk about cost of living. Now, this is a big deal. It is a big deal at the moment. Let's start with accommodation. As an international student, you'd need a place to stay. Download this app called Sahibinden. From that app, you can start searching for apartments, or you can also visit this website Numbeo to find out how much it costs to live in Istanbul per month. So with these two apps, you can get a good idea of how much groceries cost, how much apartment costs, and you can filter. Is it a 2-bedroom apartment, 2+1, or 3+1, or a studio apartment, or a simple place you can stay? So with this, you'll be able to plan properly for the costs of living. Dormitories are cheaper because you don't pay for food, but so many international students complain that they cannot eat the food in the dormitories because they are not used to it. It's strange to them, and the taste is just different. So at least for the first year, food may be a problem. You should also consider how much it costs to spend on food if you are going to be buying food outside. The problem with finding apartments, let's start with number 1, scams. You have to be very careful when you find a cheap apartment. There are so many scams out there. Another one is getting a residence permit with your address. Another one is inflation. So maybe you rented the house for a certain amount this year, but next year the price may go up. Let us talk about getting a residence permit. I want to explain a little bit more about that. The government says that there are some neighborhoods that are closed to foreigners. This means that if you get a place to stay in that neighborhood, you cannot use that address to apply for a residence permit. So that means these areas are no-go areas. So it's important to first of all find out what these areas are. Without a residence permit, you cannot stay in Turkey, of course. That's why this is very important. So what I would advise you to do is that you make sure the international student office in your university do their job properly. Ask them about all of these details, and this is very important to private students especially. Scholarship students have no problem in this regard because in the first year of study they will be staying in dormitories. They will be placed in dormitories by the scholarship. Here I'm referring to the scholarship by the Turkish government. So problems may come up for scholarship students when they decide to move to an apartment starting from the second year of study. Now let's talk about transportation. For students, you can get a student transportation card, and it is very cheap if you choose this option. For 250 lira, you get 200 rides for a month, and that's more than enough, trust me. Like, it's super cheap to move around. The problem with transportation in Istanbul is the traffic and long distances. You see, moving from point A to point B is not as easy as entering a bus and dropping from it. You need to walk to the bus station, wait for the bus, get stuck in traffic, then you highlight from the bus, you walk from the bus station to take the train. You go deep under the tunnels for 2 minutes, press your card, wait for the train, enter the train, you won't find a place to sit. You have to stand for several minutes in an overcrowded train. Then you finally get out from the train. You see everybody rushing as if there's something they are trying to catch. Life is very busy in Istanbul, so this is very normal. Then you walk and walk and walk, or you change the mode of transportation to continue moving, or you enter the metro bus, or you change to another train, or you change to take the ferry boat, or you walk to your destination. Yeah, everyone in Istanbul agrees that the average time it takes to move from any point A to any point B is 1 hour. So it's very time consuming to move around Istanbul. Now finally, let's talk about the environment. Starting with the weather, in summer, the sun rises between 4:30 and 5:30 a.m. That's very early. And sun sets between 7:30 and 9 p.m. In winter, the sun rises at 7, 8 or 9 and sets at 5, 6 or 7. Like, the day gets bright at these times. Life is quite dull in winter, but the hustle continues in Istanbul, although it is less crowded. In summer, life is bright. More people are outside and it is crowded. Winter is the time to study hard, while summer is the time to hustle hard. That's the best trick for us students in Istanbul. Let's talk about community. There are many foreigners in Istanbul, so many that in some neighborhoods you would only find people from certain countries. There are places where you would find only Russians, Somalians, Iranians, Nigerians, Egyptians, and so on. So when you are in those areas, you would feel at home. You speak your local languages. You can buy your local foods there, and you may even find Turks who speak your language. A Turkish guy went viral once for speaking Pidgin. Likewise, the disadvantage of these neighborhoods is that when there is a problem, it becomes dangerous to be there. There have been so many incidents such as fights, clashes, or protests, either between people from two different countries or within the same country. Moreover, most of these neighborhoods are now closed to newly incoming foreigners. That means you cannot use the addresses in these neighborhoods to apply for a residence permit. Also, about communities, there is a good side of it. There is the online version. There are so many WhatsApp and Telegram groups for each country and for several purposes. So the most active ones are those WhatsApp groups or Telegram groups or Facebook groups where people buy and sell things among each other. It could be local foods, it could be services, it could be money transfer, and so on and so forth. So when you sell anything known to your people, you'd find a buyer. So these are opportunities to make extra money as a student. Finally, let's talk about the people. In a cosmopolitan city like Istanbul, you should expect the best and the worst. You would find people that are so nice that they will treat you as family. They would help you in times of need and never take anything from you in return. They would invite you to their houses, they'll cook for you, they'll share opportunities with you, they'll tell you the tips to make your life easier. On the other hand, you'd find people that are just terrible. You'd find people that have a PhD in racism. They are local and international racists here. It's funny, but it's true. But of course, you don't meet people like this every day, I would argue. As a student here, your life will revolve around students. So, almost every other person on the bus or the metro or the train or the street you are walking on or the neighborhood you are living in, almost every other person there would be a university student just like you, or they would be going to the university you are going to, or the universities beside it, or the universities in those areas. So your life will be revolved around students. These people I'm talking about, be it the good people, extremely good people, the bad people, or the terrible people, you meet them when you try to do other things outside of studying, such as work, such as hustling, such as extracurriculars. You may meet just one in 2 years, or you may meet one every month, but the moment you have a good experience with a great person or a bad experience with a terrible person, that experience will remain in your head. And the next time somebody asks you, you would remember that experience first before the daily experiences you are facing. So I believe it takes the grace of God, but also a lot of carefulness and smartness to navigate your way such that you'd meet good people always, inshallah. So these are some of the main factors that I believe if you know them, they can help you decide better on whether to study in Istanbul or not. If you decide to study in Istanbul, this information I believe will also help you to be more careful and avoid problems when you eventually come to Istanbul. Thanks a lot for watching. My name is Balzar Zakaria. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.